Sleep is like the number one way to build willpower. The natural energy that you will find from getting sunlight in your eyes is going to make such a big difference in your ability to do the things that might be hard, might be challenging, but that are so fun and so fulfilling at the same time. We don't need a whole new productivity system. We're just building from the bottom. Very, very simple. We're going to be looking at something much smaller than motivation. Fuck yeah, let's go. Welcome to the Willpower Podcast. Most people spend a lot of time thinking about how to fall asleep better. Almost nobody spends time thinking about how to wake up better. That might be backwards. So the idea this week is simple. Last week, we took away a behavior, so we cut out eating 3 hours before bed. This week, we're adding one in. This week's behavior is spending 10 minutes outside in natural sunlight shortly after waking up. The classic Huberman protocol, the one he will shout from the rooftops. Just getting outside and getting sunlight in your eyes and on your skin 10 minutes after waking up. Like I said, there's so many of us that focus on, I can't go to sleep. How do I get myself to be ready for bed? But by the time you're laying awake in bed, you're like 20 steps behind. And so we got to go back to the point of waking up and start there and say, what were the things that happened upon waking that will then lead to falling asleep? This is going to tie in huge with the idea of easy willpower for a number of reasons. Not only is sleep, like I talked about last week, it's like the number one way to build willpower, is just sleep better. The other thing is the natural energy that you will find from getting sunlight in your eyes is going to make such a big difference in your ability to do the things that might be hard, might be challenging, but that are so fun and so fulfilling at the same time. That sunlight in your eyes in the morning, it's crazy how much of a difference that's going to make. Again, we don't need a whole new productivity system. We don't need, fucking AI monitoring us all day, telling us what to do. We're just building from the bottom. Very, very simple. 10 minutes outside as soon as you wake up. All right, so first, let's get into why it actually works. So our brains have a system, circadian system. It's like a timer in your body. Lots of processes operate on this 24-hour cycle, and the one that we all know is the sleep and wake cycles. The problem with the circadian rhythm, circadian cycle, is that it's not perfectly aligned to 24 hours. I don't have the exact details, but I believe it typically will naturally go slightly over 24 hours. So if you were to lock yourself in a dark room with no stimuli, no awareness of what time it is, you would likely slowly move forward in your circadian rhythm over time. That's where things like sunlight, cold water, sleeping, knowing what time it is, like these things are actually a way for your brain to understand what time it is. Because again, the circadian rhythm is slightly off. It's slightly longer than it needs to be. And so your brain needs these signals. And the biggest one is sunlight. So when you get out, when you have sunlight early in the morning, your brain understands, okay, this is the certain type of sunlight that is early morning sunlight. This tells me what time of day it is. This helps me reset back to where I should be on my circadian rhythm. When you don't have that, things get off downstream of that wake cycle. So when your brain doesn't get that initial setup of, okay, this is morning, it's morning now, that's when we have things like feeling groggy, craving caffeine because of that grogginess or because of that tiredness, bursts of energy late at night when it's like time for bed. So again, when you're laying awake at night going, why can't I sleep? Look way, way, way before. Look way before your nighttime routine. You got to look early in the day. Sunlight helps just to set that clock. And again, you can't go back and do it. You can't at 5 p.m. be like, oh, let me get sunlight now to set the clock, because your clock wasn't set in the morning when the morning sunlight was there when it was time. And then when you have that full day to have your clock tick off, you need to set it early. You end up with more natural levels of energy that makes sense. So like I mentioned, Andrew Huberman, he'll explain this all in fine detail about your cortisol and your different hormones and levels throughout the day. The main point here that we want to understand is you have naturally good levels of energy that increase and wane, and they change throughout the day in a way that makes sense. You want to have a spike of energy in the middle of the day that slowly trails off until nighttime when you have low energy and it's time to sleep. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want. This is the way that you keep it that way, rather than having a spike at one point because you had an espresso and then dropping off and having a spike right before bed and then not being able to sleep. Like I said last week, being well rested has it has so many different symptoms that are positive, and being poorly rested has so many negative symptoms. It leads to snacking, skipping workouts, not following through on plans, all these things. So getting that sunlight early is going to reset the energy, get you moving well, get you wanting to do those things, and then sleeping better because of it. That's why this one tiny habit can have effects that feel like super large and that are going to be much larger than the actual effort of just stepping outside. To go through my own experience with this, there have been periods in my life where I didn't give a shit. Like when I was in high school, I don't think I ever got outside in the morning, not on purpose at least. If I was going to school, it would be dark when I went to school because it would be 7 a.m. And I lived in Minnesota where it's dark most of the year at 7 a.m. So I would go to school 7 a.m. I would be in school until 3 p.m., 2 p.m. or 3. Okay, there goes. That's the morning. I did not get any morning sunlight at all. I'm sure there were many other reasons, but I remember almost never feeling well rested in high school. Partially also because I had to go to school at 7 a.m. So I can't say it was all the sunlight's fault. Since then, there have been periods of my life where I've noticed being able to sleep when I want to, sleeping at a normal time. Like, oh, it's 10 p.m. I'm starting to get tired. Then there are other periods where I am wired. I am wide awake at like midnight. I don't understand it. It's like I woke up at 7 a.m. Why am I so wide awake right now? It's those things. It's the little things of resetting the clock, using the sun to reset that internal clock. There's not a need to do this whole wind down when your clock is already set to wind down at that time. All that stuff is great. Doing like a little breathing exercise or turning the lights down, that's all great. But if you didn't set your clock to expire at that time, it's not going to fucking matter. It's not going to help if you're wired at 11 p.m. Red lights aren't going to do anything for you. So that's kind of been my experience with getting outside. There's also a lot of other just subjective benefits, in my opinion. I know for myself, waking up is not always the most pleasant experience. I'm in this like fucking beautiful dreamland, and then suddenly I'm ripped back into reality, and I have to come into this awareness of, okay, here's what I'm actually wanting to do today. Here's what's going on. Here's something maybe I don't want to do, but that I have to do today. And it can be just like a overwhelming experience. So getting outside first thing is usually tied with something more relaxing. It's usually taking my dog, going for a walk around the apartment, around the block, in the park. That really can ease my way into the day, and it makes the rest of the day feel a lot easier, a lot more exciting. Again, to tie back into the idea of building willpower in a way that it feels easy. It's the first easy step, very low friction to get started that ramps up into much harder things that would seem more challenging, that after a walk don't seem so bad. So there are other benefits I've noticed beyond just these like biological, there's subjective psychological effects that I've noticed. I also feel a lot more energetic after getting like good sunlight. I'm just imagining now, like there are some days that are just fucking perfect in the morning. It's like 65 degrees and just like hard sun, just glaring sun. And it's early, so you know the UV is fine. For me, I have a bald head. I got to protect myself. And so the early morning sun, I don't have to fear because it doesn't have high UV associated. So being able to go out and just be in that strong sun, but it's still not too hot, is fucking perfect. That's like the best start to a day, in my opinion. So that's kind of my experience, why it has become such a staple of my day, something that I prioritize every day. Even this morning, it was raining. I still got out and tried to get as much sunlight as I could, even though I'm aware there's not as much. There's clouds blocking it. They're literally in the way of it. But I'm still out there trying to get as much as I can. Again, it's just like, it's so easy. It's so easy. It's like, why would you not do this? If it's going to help you sleep better, if it's going to make you healthier, it is so easy to go outside for 10 minutes, make the time, make that happen. So my experience with it. So to add on to our philosophy at the show and review it a little bit because it's new. This is episode 106. But with that being said, we just started a whole new series last week. And so we're switching things up and we're talking about building a life of high willpower with easy actions every week. So the theme I wanted to reiterate this week with this specific action is this idea of building one brick at a time, not getting out ahead of ourselves, not trying for too much right away. There's this way of thinking I like to go back to when I get impatient. And that is the idea that I have an entire life to live ahead of me, and spending what feels like a lot of time to build something that lasts the rest of my life is extremely worthwhile. So let's say I want to build a routine that gets me to work twice the effective hours that I do currently. Let's say I somehow know that it's going to take me a year to put in the effort to actually build up to that point where I am doubling my effort. That might just make me feel like, okay, that's not worth it. A year of investment, that's crazy. I'm not going to do that. I want something that's going to take a month. And so I'll settle for some improvement that's, all at once that I'm probably going to be overwhelmed by and fail at. And I end up back where I started just in a month. Or I take the slow path. And in 1 year, I have a rock solid foundation, a rock solid routine that results in, like I said, 2x the whatever. That is made up, but the idea stands. In a year, I have this real thing that I've built, this pattern of behaviors that is benefiting me, that is making me happy, that is making me feel more fulfilled in my life. Now, I have the remainder of my life to enjoy the dividends of that effort. So remember that. You can go for the quick wins. You can try to do the things that are going to have results immediately, but those things tend to be much shorter lasting. They don't last a lifetime. If they come that quick, they also are going to go very quickly. The more that you can build fundamental behaviors and routines and patterns within yourself and within your life, the longer they're going to last and the more that they're going to pay off in the long run. And sometimes being patient just means remembering, oh, right, I have an entire life to live. And this is a piece of my life that I would like to have. And so I'm going to spend the time to do it well. It's like if you were building a table that you knew you were going to eat every meal for the rest of your life on. That's a lot different than, oh, I'm moving into an apartment for a year and I need a table. That's a different mentality, right? You're going to put a lot more craftsmanship, a lot more time into the table that you're going to spend the rest of your life. And I think we should be treating our routines this way because the routines, the behaviors that we're creating have the potential to last a lifetime, or at least to be the foundation of a lifetime. And thinking about how you want to live your life for the rest of your existence, that's a big deal. And you should be doing it in the best way, the way that's going to work, the way that's going to stick as best as you can. So let's go right into our experiment of the week. So last week we did, we'll get into last week. Let's just go right into this week. Starting tomorrow, I try to give a challenge that can start the day of, but this one, unless you're waking up to this, actually, fuck it. We'll say today. If it's before noon, it starts today for you. If it's afternoon for you, it starts tomorrow. Within 1 hour of waking, get outside for at least 10 minutes. Okay? We did this last time. I want you to say it out loud. I'm going to do this. Say that with me. I am going to do this. If you're in public, be a weirdo and whisper it or whatever. I am going to do this. Decide to yourself right now, commit that you are going to do this. Within 1 hour of waking, spend 10 minutes outside. Get as much sun in your eyes as you can. Don't look at the sun. Just let it get into your eyes. Notice the effects. Notice what happens later on. It's obviously it's not like you're going to turn into Superman or something, but you won't notice it in the moment is my point. You might feel a little better, a little more energized. Sometimes just being in the sun feels really nice, but notice how it affects the way that you get to sleep that night. Notice the way you feel when you wake up the next morning. Notice your energy throughout the day. Pay attention to all this stuff. Again, though, 10 minutes outside. As I've said before, as I said last week, success for us means 5 out of 7. So every week we're adding on a new thing. Last week it was not eating 3 hours before bed. And the target is to hit 5 out of 7 days in the week where we are hitting our behavior. I did not hit my behavior every single day last week. I had the weekend happen and I fucked up. I didn't fuck up, but I didn't do it. I ate before bed, at least within the 3-hour window. And that's built in. That's built into the system. Like I said, we're building a lifelong system that's going to last. It's going to stand the test of time. And so we have to build in some wiggle room. So 5 out of 7 days counts as success. 5 out of the 7 next days, we are going to get outside for at least 10 minutes. If you do 6 or 7, that's awesome. Commit to yourself that you're going to do that. Okay, that brings us to our monthly sack. So like I said, last week we were doing no food 3 hours before bed, and we're going to continue. We're going to bring that one forward with us into this week. Hopefully now it's a little bit more habitual, a little bit easier. For me, I'm noticing it's getting slightly easier. I'm not feeling this like crazy amount of desire to eat or habit or any of that. It's slowly getting less and less. So we're going to add this one on. So we are not eating 3 hours before bed, and we are getting outside within the first hour of waking, ideally even quicker. Ideally, for me, it's just when I wake up, I am throwing a shirt on, go to the door, put my dog's leash and collar on, get out there. Neither of these is crazy to do. They're doable, okay? They're very attainable. We only need to do 5 out of 7 days. You can even plan a day when you will give yourself off. Just don't do it the first day. The first day, you need to stick with it. After that, you can plan out your 2 days where you can take off if that makes it easier for you. So that's what we're doing. We're at 2. We're going to keep adding on each week. Fuck yeah, let's go. If you're in a place where you need help tracking your stuff, I built a free app for that. And I also have a community built around that. You can find us on the App Store, Grooves, or if you look us up on skool.com, that's skool.com/grooves, you'll find the community. Both are completely free right now. They will be free if you join now. I cannot promise that they will be free for all new users in the future. I don't know. If you join right now, it will be free for you forever. So that's for, again, tracking your habits, tracking your well-being, and also joining a community of like-minded people doing stuff like this every single week. Okay, looking to next week, I got a question for you. What if motivation isn't the reason that you're skipping workouts? What if motivation isn't the reason you're missing habits? What if motivation isn't the reason that you're procrastinating? We're going to be looking at something much smaller than motivation, something that seems unimportant, and it might actually be the real culprit. Come back next Wednesday for that episode. And for today, that'll be it. Bye, everybody.